freedom,
family,
world unity.
All these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
Real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing high consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented are to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hi, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode
of High Consciousness. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria. And we are High Consciousness. Welcome to a new episode, everybody. So, last week we went over our first, last Monday we went over our first dip into the U.S. Constitution and other writings, and a little recap on that. It was just a little intro on what the book was about and the different turning points of America, like when Roe versus Wade happened, and then Brown versus Board of Education, is the 13th and 14th Amendments and how they were a very big thing, the Civil War, how it was more than just about slavery and what was at stake with it, and just all kinds of really interesting stuff.
And we learned about originators and non-originators. So people that want to say original to the Constitution, people say that the Constitution should be modified to be due to at the time. So a lot of debates with that here and there. But some people agree with non-originators and people agree with the originators. So that's where it kind of comes like a little balancing act type deal between the two. Which the Constitution does say it can be molded and changed, but has to be a unanimous decision among the courts. Mm-hmm. Well, not the courts, but among the branches.
Yes. And I think it even said that the majority of the United States also, like, we had to have an election on that kind of decision as a nation because the Constitution was written, or our Declaration of Independence included, was also written as, we the people. Mm-hmm. Our government, we've been kind of brainwashed a little bit to think that the government has all the power, but really we have all the power. We vote whether or not to take something out of the Constitution, and that intro did go over that we, the American people, if there is any amendments that we feel we need to totally eradicate, then like a presidential election or an election for the Senate and the House, we also hold an election to be able to adjust amendments, and we, the people of America, have that power, mm-hmm. not all government.
No. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the first document that was written in America, which was the Mayflower Compact, which basically, in a sense, it really is just the people that came over on the Mayflower signing their rights and their loyalties to King James and the soul of God. And it was written in 1620. The Mayflower Compact was governing charter of the English colony at Plymouth in Massachusetts. And John Carver, who helped to organize the Mayflower voyage and became the colony's first governor, likely wrote the compact and assigned by the colony's 41 free adult men. In the name of God, amen, we whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord King James, by the grace of God, of Great Britain, France, Britain, France.
I can see where it says, yeah, it's written like Britain.
I mean, it has an I and an I-N-E. It has an I-N-E. Forgive me.
I know, but like for the people that are watching, the reason why he said that, which I can't blame him, because it's written like, the British were very odd about, they added E's and U's on stuff that it just shouldn't be, where it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Great Britain, like they made it, instead of, the Britain that we know it to be, they had an E at the end of it, making it Britain. They always gotta be fancy.
Yeah, so no offense, but yeah. France and Ireland, king defender of the faith, etc., having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith in the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another, covenant and combined ourselves together into a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation and further hence of the ends aforesaid, and by virtue hereof do enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and offices from time to time as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. In witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names at Cape Cod the 11th of November, in the reign of our sovereign Lord King James of England, France, Ireland the 18th, and of Scotland the 54th. Anno Domini.
Anno Domini.
1620. So
it kind of seems very, like, because you weren't reading it wrong. It says, in witness thereof, we have hereunto subscribed our names at the Cape Cod the 11th of November, in the reign of our sovereign Lord, King James of England, France and Ireland the 18th, and of Scotland the 54th. Anno Domini, 1620.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they didn't finish writing it almost. What's the 54th? What's the 18th? What's that? So, how about we look that up real quick?
There you go.
You're not in the right place.
I mean, I'm not in the right place.
For the search.
I wouldn't think it would matter. It's still a search area. So Microsoft would have known.
So,
I mean,
King James and the 18th. So hit King James and then plus.
Like.
Well, yeah.
Plus.
Let's make sure that didn't toggle our thing off. Real quick.
No.
We're still recording. Okay. King James plus the 18th. Whatever that means. Okay.
Yeah, see, nothing. King James Bible is what you get. What does the end of...
I don't know how to pose that question.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you're asking a question that you probably can't get an answer on the.
So, I mean, okay, so maybe the question we need to ask is...
What does the end of the Mayflower Compact mean?
Uh-huh. Maybe history.com.
Sign. Oh, no, that's when it got updated. But it said a rule. The Mayflower Compact was a set of rules for self-governance established by the English settlers who traveled to the New World of the Mayflower. When Pilgrims and other settlers set on the ship for America in 1620, they intended to lay anchor in Northern Virginia, but after treacherous squalls and storms drove their ships off course, the settlers landed in Massachusetts instead near Cape Cod, outside of Virginia's jurisdiction. Knowing life without laws could prove catastrophic, colonized leaders created the Mayflower Compact to ensure a functioning social structure would prevail.
But I still want to know what they mean by King James, the England, France, the Ireland, the 18th, Scotland, and the 54th. What the hell does that mean? Like, what is the 18th? What is the 54th? Like, what? Are you telling me these are, like, colonies or something? Like...
Oh, because it was the first time of them self-governing. No.
But he's saying he's the king of England, France, Ireland, the 18th, Scotland, and the 54th. So what does that part mean?
I don't know.
So maybe highlight it and then copy paste it and ask, what does it mean?
Shoot.
You just gotta type it in the top.
We go to Coral, US NBC, but I feel like that ain't gonna give us the real answer we want. Teach democracy. Background snip. I mean, you're not gonna get a true meaning behind your question, babe. That's what the sad part is. I don't think you're gonna get a full answer on this one.
Maybe it's saying that Ireland and Scotland are the 18th and 54th colonies of England, maybe?
Because it was the 54th year of James' reign in Scotland.
And the 18th reign for Ireland. Okay. So Ireland for the last 18 years, Scotland the last 54.
There's your answer. There's your answer right there. Because people are posing the same question.
Yeah.
Boo.
Okay. So that's what that meant. Okay. So basically it was just, here you go, here's a little set rules of law. You know all the rules from, England, so you just carry them over to
apply
America.
yourself here and self-govern while we're still venturing out into this new world. That's pretty much what that is entitling and saying.
Mm-hmm.
And now we flash forward 100 years forward in time with these documents right here written by Benjamin Franklin.
Yes, they're called the Silence Dogood Letters of 1722.
Benjamin Franklin helped publish Boston's third newspaper, the New England Courant. As an apprentice at his brother's James print shop, the newspaper provided jaunty literary pieces and imitations of London, papers that James admired. Among other newsworthy articles, Ben, who wanted to write for the paper but was afraid of objections from his brother, started slipping letters about current topics under the print shop door in the dead of night, using the pseudonym Silence Dogood. James and his friends frequently lauded the letters as coming from a such older and wiser community member, never suspecting the author was James' 16-year-old brother. Eventually, Ben admitted the truth, which led to a brotherly rift, sending Ben to Philadelphia, where he became one of the foremost statesmen of our country. The 14 letters are published here, and this is the first one, in April 2nd, 1722. Letter number 1. To the author of the New England Courant, Sir, it may not be improper in the first place to inform your readers that I intend once a fortnight to present them, by the help of this paper, with a short epistle, which I presume will add somewhat to their entertainment. And since it is observed that the generality of people nowadays are unwilling either to command or depraise what they read, until they are in some measures informed who or what the author of it is, whether he be rich or poor, old or young, a scholar or a leather apron man, etc., and give their opinion of the performance, according to the knowledge which they have of the author's circumstances. It may not be amiss to begin with a short account of my past life and present condition, that the reader may not be at a loss to judge whether or not my lubrications are worth his reading. So right out the gate, Benjamin is already telling the newspaper, maybe we should basically personalize the author, because it shouldn't matter if he's rich or poor, or young or old, a scholar, or just an everyday being. Let the author tell his story on his circumstances of what he knows. I mean, that's pretty much what I got from that first, little first 2 paragraphs from the letter. What do you say?
I totally agree with that, and I think it's pretty funny that 16-year-old little Benjamin Franklin is the one doing this, and it's because he just so badly wanted to write for the paper that Big Bro was never going to let him be able to write in the paper for whatever reason or another, because, brothers.
Objections. Well, that's the thing about it, is that his brother probably didn't want him to put the newspaper in a bad downward spiral, nor did he want his brother probably to then get hurt, feelings get hurt.
Well, also, I think the printing process was very dangerous at that time as well. So maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't want little brother to get hurt within the print shop, because it might have been dangerous for him to be in. But it seemed like Ben didn't care.
Well, not necessarily get hurt, but I think it was just more of the fact that he doesn't want his emotions or feelings get hurt, and said his piece, his art, his work of literature isn't good.
Maybe so.
I honestly don't know, but that's
a pretty good assumption.
But anyway, I'll also continue reading. At the time of my birth, my parents were on shipboard in their way from London to New England. My entrance into this troublesome world was attended with the death of my father, a misfortune which I was not then capable of knowing. I shall never be able to forgive, for as he, poor man, stood upon the deck rejoicing at my birth, a merciless wave entered the ship, and in one moment carrying him beyond reprieve. Thus was the first day which I saw the last that was seen by my father, and thus was my desolate mother. At once had both a parent and a widow. We arrived at Boston, which was not long after I was put to nurse in a country place at a small distance from the town where I went to school, and passed my infancy and childhood in vanity and idleness, until I was bound out apprentice, that I might no longer be a charge to my indigent mother. That I might no longer be a charge to my indigent mother, who was put to hard shifts for a living. My master was a country minister, a pious, good-natured young man, and a bachelor. He labored with all his might to instill virtuous and godly principles into my tender soul. well knowing that it was the most suitable time to make deep and lasting impressions of the mind, while it was yet untainted with vice, free and unbiased, he endeavored that I might be instructed in all that knowledge and learning which is necessary for our sex, and deny me no accomplishment that could possibly be attained in a country place, such all sorts of needlework, writing, arithmetic, etc., and observing that I took a more than an ordinary delight in reading ingenious books, he gave me the free use of his library, which, though it was but small, yet it was well chose to inform the understanding rightly and enable the mind to frame great and noble ideas. Before I had lived quite 2 years with this reverend gentleman, my indulgent mother departed this life, leaving me, as it were, by myself. Having no relations on earth within my knowledge, I will not abuse your patience with a tedious recital of all my frivolous accidents of my life that happened from this time until I arrived 2 years of discretion. Only inform you that I lived a cheerful country life, spending my leisure time either in some innocent diversion with the neighboring females, or in some shady retirement with the best of company books. Thus I passed away the time with a mixture of profit and pleasure, having no affection but was imaginary, and created in my own fancy, as nothing is more common with us women than to be grieving for nothing. We have nothing else to grieve for. As I would not engross too much of your paper at once, I will defer the reminder of my story until my next letter. In the meantime, desire your readers to exercise their patience and bear with my humors now and then, because I shall trouble them but seldom. But I am not insensible of the impossibility of pleasing all, but I would not willingly displease any, and for those who will take offense, where none is intended, they were beneath the notice of your humble servant.
Silence Dogood.
Mm-hmm.
So Benjamin Franklin basically gives our readers this whole little backstory of Silence Dogood and what his life was like. I'm not really sure what the actual life of Benjamin Franklin was like back in the day, but if that was a false story and it didn't give Big Bro an idea like, hey, this might be my brother.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't, because he was able to get all 14 letters.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the second letter that Benjamin written in April 16th, 1722. To the author of the New England Courant, Sir, histories of lives are seldom entertaining unless they contain something either admirable or exemplary. And since there is little or nothing of this nature in my own adventures, I will not tire your readers with tedious particular of no consequence, but will briefly, in as few words as possible, relate the most material occurrences of my life, and according to my promise, confine all to this letter. My reverend master, who had hitherto remained a bachelor, after much meditation on the 18th verse of the second chapter of Genesis, took up a resolution to marry, and having made several unsuccessful fruitless attempts on the more topping sort of our sex, and being tired with making troublesome journeys and visits to no purpose, he began unexpectedly to cast a loving eye upon me, whom he had brought up cleverly to his hands. There is certainly scarce any part of a man's life in which he appears more silly and ridiculous when he makes his first onset in courtship. The awkward manner in which my master first discovered his intentions made me, in spite of my reference to his person, burst out into an unmanly laughter. However, having asked his pardon, and with much ado composed, my
countenance,
I promised him I would take his proposal into serious consideration and speedily give him an answer. As he had a great benefactor in the manner of father to me, I could not well deny his request when I once perceived he was in earnest.
Okay. Wait, what?
Yeah, Julie said, it says this. Don't say what. I did not stumble on that.
So
I could not deny his request when I once perceived he was in earnest. But,
so hold on, I have a question.
You telling me that Benjamin Franklin had sex with the pastor? Or
is the Reverend proposing to Benjamin Franklin saying, "Yo, I want to marry you"?
Okay, let me tell you something.
Or to Silence Dogood. Is that what I caught there?
Yeah, because Silence Dogood could be a man or a woman. You don't know who this could be. Don't look at me like that. Why don't you look at... You know what? Look it up. You're the one that's curious.
That's true. Let's go take a little trip to the Matrix. Okay.
You're the one that's curious. I was going to keep on reading. And not like I heard it. Not like on the screen you don't know him. Silence? It's silence?
Silence Dogood a male or female? Oops. I mean, we know it's Benjamin Franklin, but... So... It's a young boy. Persona of a middle-aged widow named Silence Dogood. Okay, yeah, you're right. So he tried to pose himself as
a girl,
a widowed woman.
Yeah, I could have sworn.
Okay then.
I could have sworn that's what I said in the beginning. I could have sworn I said that.
I don't think I caught it.
Or it was a pseudonym.
Yeah, it was just pseudonym. You just said he had a pseudonym. Of Silence Dogood.
But yes, he's portraying himself as a woman because his mother doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying? This is him talking.
So yeah, the whole story's made up of the whole backstory.
Mm-hmm. But this is to prove how genius Benjamin Franklin's mind is, that he could legitimately make things off the rip.
And also back in the 1700s, they didn't have penmanship checks and stuff like we do now.
Mm-hmm.
So, they just, if somebody saw somebody's handwriting, they didn't really, take note of it.
However, no, of course they want to take note. Why would they take note of it in the 18th century?
Because at that time, everybody, should have been who they said they were, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because in the words of John Proctor, my name's my name.
My name's my name.
And that's about as basic as it gets. But anyways, continuing on, since Tori had a little damn gas moment.
Because I got it in my head that this is Benjamin Franklin, and I'm like, whoa, did he really get proposed to by a man?
No.
And then we had to figure it out that he tried to pose as a widowed woman. So now it makes sense.
Yeah, well, of course, because did you not? Well, it would have told you that. You could have told he was pursuing as a woman if he didn't want his brother to find out he was writing. So the best way to figure out is portraying yourself as the opposite sex. Think about it, as writing as a pen pal. Your brother ain't gonna know the difference between a man and a woman writing.
Oh, dang!
I mean, I could have figured that out.
Wow! You know what? That didn't even cross my mind.
How? I mean, yeah. So, anyways. Unmanly laughter, however, having asked his pardon, and with much ado composed my countenance, I promised him I would take his proposal into serious consideration and speedily gave him an answer. As he had a great benefactor, and in a manner a father to me, I could not well deny his request. When I once perceived he was in earnest, whether it was love, or gratitude, or pride, or all three that made me consent, I know not. But it is certain, he found it no hard matter by the help of his rhetoric to conquer my heart and persuade me to marry him. This unexpected match was very astonishing to all the country round and about, and served to furnish them with disclosure for a long time after, some approving it, others disliking it, as they were led by their various fancies and inclinations. We lived happily together in a heat of height of conjugal love and mutual endearments for near 7 years, in which time we added 2 likely girls and a boy to the family of the Dogoods. But alas, when my sun was in its meridian altitude, inexorable, unrelenting death, as he had envied my happiness and tranquility, and resolved to make me entirely miserable by the loss of so good an husband, hastened his flight to the heavenly world by a sudden unexpected departure from this. I have now remained in a state of widowhood for several years, but in a state I never much admired. But I am apt to fancy that I could be easily persuaded to marry again, provided as I was of a good humor, sober, agreeable companion, but even with these few good qualities being hard to find, I have lately relinquished all thoughts of that nature. At present, I pass away my leisure hours in conversation, either with my honest neighbor Rusticus, with his family, or with the ingenious minister of our town, who now lodges at my house. And by those assistants I intend now and then to beautify my writings with a sentence or two in the learned languages, which will not only be fashionable or pleasing to those who do not understand it, but will likewise be very ornamental. I shall conclude this with my own character, which would one think I should be able to know then that I am an enemy to vice and a friend to virtue. I am one of the extensive charity and a great foreigner of private injuries, a hearty lover of the clergy and all good men, and a mortal enemy to arbitrary government and unlimited power. I am naturally very jealous for the rights and liberties of my country, and the last apprentice of an encroachment of those inviolable privileges, and apt to make my blood boil exceedingly. I have likewise a natural inclination to observe and reprove the faults of others, at which I have an excellent faculty. I speak this by way of warning of all such offences shall come under my cognizance, for I never intend to wrap my talent in a napkin. To be brief, I am courteous, courteous, affable, good humor. I am first provoked and handsome, and sometimes witty, but always, sir, your friend and humble servant. Silence Dogood.
All right. I think that's enough do-goods and stuff for today. And we'll continue on with that next time.
Yeah, well, and we got 11 more letters of this.
So, a little recap. How about that? Little review. What do you think?
I think that's good with me. Because I swear if I hear the word I am, read a sentence that begins with I am one more time, I'm thinking I'm going to pull my hair out. A lot of eyes.
This is a person, that's writing a letter, so of course it has to be a lot of, and they're trying to introduce themselves to the readers, to the audience, and so of course there's going to be a lot of I am statements, because they're saying I am genuous, I am virtuous, I am good humored, I'm a good person, I do these things,
Yeah, now as an English teacher, I'll say you say I a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Our English teachers would be like, you say I too much.
I mean, seriously, because I feel like I was legitimately repeating myself over and over again. I was getting a little frustrated with it, because then if I see a word, I fumble over it because I'm saying it repetitiveness and saying "I" a lot.
Yeah, I know. But hey, that's how people wrote letters back in the day.
But we're just getting into the story of what Benjamin Franklin told his brother in order to get into the newspaper.
And these are writings that are part of our U.S. library.
Well,
some of our first writings for our country that were ever made.
Yeah, made by a 16-year-old rebel. Go figure.
Woo! Know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Rebellion! I love Ben. Benjamin Franklin is such an inspiration. Like, bro, my big bro wouldn't let me write in the paper. So you know what I did? I posed as a widow woman to get my story out there, and he was never none the wiser. That's great. That's awesome.
And if we date that, he's 16 years old. That's 1722. 1776. That would mean
he was like 70, just about.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 70 when the Constitution and stuff was all written and signed.
Exactly. I was about to say, yeah, do your math.
Wow.
Like, yeah. 50 years. 52 years. No, 54 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, 70 on the dot, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, let's see, 54, 16, and 6 plus 4, 10, 5, 1 plus 1, 70. There you go.
Mm-hmm. But leave a comment, subscribe to see what y'all think about those two letters that we read, and the Mayflower Compact, which reason why the Mayflower Compact is so big is because it's the very first document of a group of people, a colony, did not have no authorities like police or like no knights or none of that. It was literally them self-governing themselves and writing documentation papers, and that the rules that we came from, we need to follow those rules so we have some sort of order here.
Mm-hmm. They were the rules of the first colony that arrived on Plymouth.
And that's what literally set everything, kind of set everything up for us to be self-governed.
Mm-hmm. And then, the Silence Dogood Letters are our first paper that was ever written, and this was like the first story that caught everybody in the colonies' attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time that Benjamin Franklin was 13 years old, or not 13, but 16 years old, I think we already had 13 colonies by then. By 1722.
We'll look it up.
Let's go to the Matrix.
So we're going to do some you ask a question, you look into it. Next time I ask a question, I'll look into it.
Okay. When were... Oops. Yeah, there we go. 13 colonies established. Oh, okay. So, how many colonies were there by
1722?
1722.
Third.
Wait. It says that they were formally established in 1774. Okay, I guess that's when they became American colonies. Alright, that makes sense.
Timeline.
There's our timeline. Okay.
See more.
Let me see more. And it only goes to 1736.
1636.
Or 1636. Thank you for correcting me. Well, this is awkward. Because...
American History Timeline, 1701 through 1725.
Thought Co. The first quarter of the 18th century in America can be characterized as time of conflict, European colonies, blah, blah, blah. 1702, 1704. We're looking for 1720.
2, right here, boom.
22.
The building known as the almost...
Erected as a mission in San Antonio. Maryland requires the establishment of schools in all counties. Oh, well, it seems, the 13 colonies were pretty much already established. Separation of North and South Carolina was 1712.
So that's when North Carolina and South Carolina got established.
Which probably created the last bit. It was founded when the Act of the Union combines England, Scotland, and Wales. English, 1708, December 21st, the English settlement at Newfoundland is captured by French and indigenous forces. 1709, Massachusetts is becoming more willing to accept other religions, as evidenced by the Quakers being allowed to establish a meeting house in Boston. So yeah, they really were already established by then. Okay. So yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there you go, folks.
That's it. I believe how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles.
A lot of interesting things. There might not have been a lot of information, but it was a little bit entertaining to learn about Benjamin Franklin and posing as a widow.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, and I can't wait to see what other things the do-goods are up to.
Yeah, do-goods, alright.
Do-goods. So, with that being said, the episode has come to a close. Please give us a like and a subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you're alerted every time that we drop a new video. And tune in for Thursday's episode with America, A Narrative History, Part 1.2.
And Tori is going to be reading 1.2.
Yes, that I will. We're going to be switching off every week. So next Monday, I will be reading. And then the Monday after that, Nick will read, and, Thursday, the same applies. He read first, I read next time, which will be on Thursday, and then, next Thursday he reads, the Thursday after that I do.
In other words...
So we like to keep it fun, switch it up.
In other words, once a week, one of us will be reading twice. Back to back.
Yep, pretty much. But thank you guys. We love you. Thank you for all the support, and we'll see y'all in the next one. And remember to live life with eyes wide open. Thank y'all.